Well, good morning. I feel like the luckiest guy in town. Like many who grew up in this region, I have terrific memories of coming downtown with my parents as a kid. Today, I get to raise my kids here and work to make it an even better place with all of you. It doesn't get much better than that. I remember the thrill of watching the skyline appear from the back seat of a blue station wagon as we drove north on I-5 past South Center. And I remember Air Supply playing on the tape deck over and over and over again. I think my mom only had one Air Supply album. Cutter's was our go-to restaurant. My twin sister and I must have consumed a half ton of their famous garlic bread. I have great memories of visiting downtown and experiencing all this great urban place has to offer. Today, I want to talk about the progress being made to attract more people to live, work, shop, and play in downtown Seattle. Then I'll discuss the economic significance of downtown to the rest of the city and the region. Finally, I'll spend a few minutes talking about our opportunities ahead because clearly the next is now. As Dr. Barber mentioned, today over half the world's population lives in cities. And cities are growing faster than the suburbs for the first time since 1920. Think about that. The revitalization of cities and their downtowns is occurring across the world, from Haikou, China, to Tulsa, to Cleveland. Yes, I said Tulsa and Cleveland. I was born in Buffalo, New York, and Cleveland is about the only place that you're allowed to make fun of, or get to make fun of, if you're from Buffalo. Urban places have a strong wind at their back. The largest generation in history, the millennials, at 80 million strong, prefer living in urban places over the suburbs at a rate of 2 to 1. A majority want to live close to public transit. And commute times across the nation continue to increase, making living closer to where you work more and more attractive. In downtown Seattle, we're benefiting from these shifts in preferences and demographics in historic ways. Today, we're witnessing record levels of investment and growth. While the stats are striking, in many ways, the success should not surprise us. Because of the work of many in this room, we've had the right fundamentals in place for decades. We protected our retail core. In the 1990s, when downtown's retail core was threatened, public and private leaders came together to save it. We evolved the zoning to attract investment and development. Density is legal in downtown. That wasn't always the case. We located our arts and cultural institutions in downtown within close proximity to one another. And today, all of us continue to support them. We invested in a robust transit system. Our convention center and sports stadiums are located right downtown. Some cities put their sports stadiums way out in the suburbs. I'm not going to name names here. Isn't that hideous? It looks like they built that on an airport runway. We're so fortunate to have the energy and excitement of sports centered in our downtown. And when we host the Super Bowl in Seattle, it's going to be quite a party in downtown. The growth and good fortune we're experiencing today is not by accident. It's thanks to public and private leaders who have understood what is necessary to create and sustain a great urban place. The ingredients we fought so hard for, housing, jobs, retail, entertainment, and sports, are interdependent. Success in one area creates growth in another. We call this the live, work, shop, play dynamic. And it's a beautiful cycle playing out across downtown today. We're headed in the right direction on so many fronts. Let's take a closer look. Downtown's residential population has increased by 8% since 2010. Today, 65,000 people call downtown Seattle home. 4,000 residential units were delivered last year, and nearly 8,000 are under construction or expected to break ground this year. That's 56 new residential towers on the way. As downtown grows, its demographics are shifting. We're seeing more families, people in their 20s and 30s, more racial diversity, and more women. New amenities for residents and their dogs are popping up across downtown. This year, Eat Local, Conan Steiner, Bell Street Park, City Dog, and Market Hall all opened. I live above Market Hall, and there's not a question I will never cook again. Their staples are pizza and pasta, and as you can see, my kids are absolutely thrilled. Recently in downtown Seattle, we started the best Block Watch program in the city by welcoming Seattle's new police chief, Kathleen O'Toole, as our newest resident downtown. There's not a better set of eyes or ears to have on your block. All of Seattle is so fortunate to have Chief O'Toole leading the police department, and we thank her for being here today. Downtown's current rate of residential growth is twice that of the region. Growing up means we don't have to grow out, and we protect thousands of acres of our cherished landscape. Since 1980, downtown's residential growth has outpaced most other major downtowns. Downtown added more new households in the last 35 years than all those downtowns you see on the screen behind me. That's a pretty impressive stat. At DSA, we're responding to this growth by organizing downtown residents to be a stronger political voice. If you live downtown and you're frustrated with rampant drug dealing, and you have every right to be, or you want to work to improve a park, you know where to turn. More than a third of downtown residents also work downtown and are filling thousands of new jobs. Since 2010, downtown has added approximately 25 new jobs each day. Today, nearly 250,000 people work in downtown. Drawn by our vibrant urban environment and great transit service, companies big and small continue to locate and grow here. Urban Visions will soon break ground on a new office building adjacent to Occidental Park and move Weyerhaeuser and 800 new jobs to downtown. Facebook is growing its Seattle footprint in South Lake Union, drawn by a strong pool of talent in our region. And you may have read that we have a small but growing online retailer that is expanding in downtown. And that actually reminds me, I completely forgot to order my mother a birthday present. This is just going to take a minute. No, seriously. Do you guys have the Prime membership? No? You should get it. Amazon's table is right over here. They'll sign you up. You're not gonna believe this. For my mom here, they have the double disc collector's edition Greatest Hits Air Supply. Unbelievable. She's gonna love this. Love it. That song has been in my head all week. It'll be in yours too. Now, where was I? Okay. The overall rate of job growth in downtown is twice that of the region, and downtown accounted for over a third of all job growth in King County since 2010. This remarkable employment growth makes investments in transit service all the more critical. We all know the streets in downtown are not going to get wider. 10 years ago, the DSA, city, and county came together to form Commute Seattle. Commute Seattle works with property owners and employers to increase the percent of people traveling to their jobs on buses, rail, bikes, and by foot. This partnership has been a tremendous success. In 2000, 50% of the downtown commuters were coming by transit, bike, or on foot. I'm pleased to announce that in 2014, the number of people commuting downtown via transit and alternative modes increased to 69%. Yes, we can clap for that. With our partners at the city and county, we've been so successful in convincing workers to take the bus and bike that four-legged commuters and Seahawk players are catching on. The demand for transit service in downtown and across the region has never been higher. Last year, we faced potential cuts to bus service. That's a really bad idea in a growing economy. We responded by leading a successful campaign in November to expand bus service in Seattle. Thanks to many of you and our partners at Transportation Choices Coalition, and to Mayor Murray and the City Council for putting it on the ballot, we will see a significant increase in bus service this June. This will continue to support job growth in downtown. A strong job base is critical for a healthy and vibrant downtown, and so too is great retail. Since 2010, taxable retail sales in downtown Seattle have increased 22%, and pedestrian traffic is up 21% this year. Much progress is being made. You can see some of the independent retailers who have just opened or expanded in downtown. But we know how fragile downtown retail is. You can never take it for granted. You can lose your retail in a few years, and it could take you a few decades to get it back. Downtown Minneapolis was once the retail hub of the upper Midwest, with brands like Neiman Marcus, Saks, and Ann Taylor. Over time, they all left, as did many others, and they haven't returned. We are determined that this will not happen here. This year, we're doing more than ever to support downtown retail. We created a retail recruitment and advocacy program to bring more independent retailers to downtown. We will launch a new branding and marketing effort to attract more retailers and visitors to the Pike Pine Corridor. And we will launch a new mobile app to showcase all the retailers downtown has to offer. All the new people coming to live, work, and shop downtown are eating and drinking a lot. No, I mean a lot. You all look great. Don't get me wrong. But it is remarkable that over the last 5 years, downtown restaurant sales have increased by 31%. And the number of restaurants and bars in downtown has increased by nearly 20%. All this gluttony is just fine, as the number of gyms downtown has doubled in the past 5 years. Hit your local gym. And the number of cardiologists located downtown is also up. We actually don't even track that number, but we probably should. And the dining concepts are getting more and more odd. A new restaurant, Water, will open next week. Have you heard of this place? It just serves water, 12 different types of water. Rosemary water, cucumber water, orange-infused water, and you get to select the shape of your ice, a sphere, an octagon, a basic cube. Actually, that's opening in Portland in the Pearl District, not in Seattle. There's so much to celebrate in arts, entertainment, and sports over the last year, except that. We'll just move on. Attendance was up at the aquarium, the convention center, the Fifth Avenue Theater, and at SAM. Wing Luke's Bruce Lee exhibit was a huge hit. Everybody wanted in on the act. The Grinch had record ticket sales at the Paramount, topping 35 cities across the U.S. And it was a record year for downtown's hotels, with occupancy second only to San Francisco. 1 million people stayed in a downtown hotel last year. All those people that had those big smiles on their faces and that were floating off the sidewalk all summer, those were all the hotel owners in downtown who had a really good year. So far, I've talked about downtown as an increasingly great place to live, work, shop, and play. But downtown's significance extends beyond its small footprint. The health of downtown matters to our entire city, and downtown is always served as everyone's neighborhood. We're transitioning this year to a city council elected by districts. Some will be tempted to draw artificial lines and divisions around downtown and some Seattle neighborhoods. But we know that Seattle's neighborhoods share strong connections to downtown, and vice versa. We know that 137,000 Seattleites come to work downtown each day. We know that the sale of downtown real estate just last year generated nearly $20 million to fund things like community centers and parks across Seattle. And we know that thousands of Seattle kids create important traditions and memories downtown, whether it's visiting Santa, taking a school trip to the aquarium, or joining their parents at a parade to celebrate a world championship. Downtown has always shared important connections to Seattle's neighborhoods. And to sustain a prosperous city and a thriving downtown, I believe our connections must and will become stronger. We can come together with Capitol Hill and the University District on a public safety and human service strategy. We have big challenges in these areas, but we are not alone. To continue to support job growth downtown, we will need to invest in even more transit service. Residents of West Seattle and Ballard shouldn't have to choose between a standing room only bus or a headache in their car to get to work downtown each day. And all this job growth that we've talked about and are seeing will continue to increase the need for more housing in downtown and across Seattle. And when it comes to addressing housing affordability, we have a choice. We can continue to tax a small area of our city to provide a small number of housing units, as San Francisco has tried and failed to do, or we can get creative and embrace a broad set of strategies to produce and preserve affordable and market-rate housing across Seattle. I say, let's leave the ideas that haven't worked in San Francisco in San Francisco. We can chart our own course here. The decisions that will be made over the next 10 years involving public safety, transit, and affordable housing will strengthen the connections between downtown and Seattle neighborhoods. Districts or no districts, we are increasingly a city of urban places that share urban challenges and that must be linked for success. And collectively, we can approach these challenges with a common purpose: to create thriving urban neighborhoods full of opportunity that welcome investment, whether that's at 2nd and Stewart, along Northwest Market in Ballard, or on Rainier Avenue in the heart of Columbia City. As we reflect on all this tremendous momentum and think to what's ahead, I want to briefly discuss the opportunities to revive our public realm downtown and why I believe it to be one of the most important steps we must take to sustain our growth and prosperity. The spaces between downtown buildings have been frozen in time and reflect the downtown of 20 or even 30 years ago. Occidental Park looks much like it did when it turned from a parking lot to a park in 1971. I gotta say, when I first heard the title for the book 50 Shades of Grey, I thought it was about this park. I now understand it's about something entirely different. I didn't read it, but I've heard. Occidental Park is a weak link in an otherwise thriving neighborhood. The same can be said for Westlake Park at times. Portions of 3rd Avenue, they may look worse than they did after it was rebuilt in the early 1990s. Investment in our public realm hasn't kept pace with our evolving downtown. Today, we lack quality spaces that are attractive, inviting, and reflective of our brand of innovation and technology. Thankfully, we have a history in Seattle of remaking our landscape. We've knocked down hills and built and filled a seawall. In 1854, David Denny and Thomas Mercer hosted a community picnic on the shores of Lake Union. They served gourmet burgers and truffle fries from food trucks down there. They actually food buggies at the time. And there were still long lines. They weren't long lines of tech workers, they were loggers. So they waited 25 minutes behind these long lines of loggers to get these gourmet burgers and the truffle fries, which were only a nickel, not $15 back then. I'm going somewhere with this. At the picnic, they envisioned a connection between Lake Union and Lake Washington. A little over 60 years later, the Montlake Cut was made. These were big moves in Seattle. Thankfully, the work before us to transform our public spaces won't require moving mountains of dirt, but it will require us to clear away some of the old thinking about what works and what doesn't when it comes to creating great public spaces. We must embrace new partnerships, new ways of raising revenue, and new approaches to managing and programming downtown parks. Seattle is a city full of great design and great designers. We have world-renowned architects and it's outstanding lighting, fashion, and furniture designers. But you wouldn't know that by peering outside at our sidewalks and parks at times. Before us are opportunities to establish a stronger pedestrian connection between downtown and Capitol Hill, and the expansion of the convention center can be a catalyst for this. To remake our waterfront and expand the Pike Place Market, and to knit together Seattle Center, Uptown, and South Lake Union. These initiatives and investments are essential for our continued success. Some of these will be big moves, and they will take time. But we can take some small steps as well, and we have. We took the lessons shared by Dan Biederman at this event last year and put them to work in Westlake Park last summer and winter. Dan led the turnaround of Bryant Park in New York City and consults around the country on urban parks. We took his strategies and activated Westlake Park with new tables and chairs, ping pong, a lounge sponsored by Alaska Airlines, food trucks, World Cup viewing, yoga classes, and movies every Friday night in August. The results showed that more activities and regular programming brought more people to the park and created a more inviting space for everyone. We look forward to building on this success in Westlake and Occidental Parks this summer through a new partnership with the city and our partners at the Alliance for Pioneer Square, the Seattle Parks Foundation, and Friends of Waterfront Seattle. We will fill these spaces with more color, activities, programming, and people. They will not be weak links anymore. As we've seen today, downtown Seattle continues to be a great place to live, work, shop, and play. It's getting better every year, and our connections to urban neighborhoods in our city continue to strengthen. And while there's no doubt that we face many challenges in downtown and across our city, we have a lot of work to do. I think we'd all agree, though, that it will continue to be a labor of love. And as I said at the outset, I really do feel like the luckiest guy in town to be a part of it with all of you and a great team at the Downtown Seattle Association. Thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts with you this morning.